I had worked with Glenn Cannon on two other pilots. Glenn Cannon was a writer on the contract to ABC, and I had cast two other pilots for Glenn. He liked and admired my casting and would always call on me to cast his pilots. And when I read Moonlighting, it was just, of all the scripts I'd read that he had submitted to me, this was fantastic. I was casting another pilot for Steve Cannell at the same time. I was casting Hardcastle McCormick, I believe, at the same time I was casting Moonlighting. And the Moonlighting concept for Moonlighting, that if it was a film, it would have been Jessica Lange and Bill Murray. Beautiful socialite and this, unpredictable personality, actor. And I had hired four of the casting directors around the country, including Canada, to search for this character. We knew Sybil was a prototype. She wasn't sure she wanted to do the role. I had met Sybil during my national search for The Winds of War. So I considered her, she knew me, I considered her somewhat of a friend. And her agent at the time was David Shapiro, who was a long-term friend. So David said, Reuben, Sybil's not going to audition. I said, no. He said, and she's not sure she wants to do a series. She had done another series over at Warner Brothers that hadn't worked out. But I encouraged him, I said, let's at least have a meeting. So I have a meeting, so Sybil, David, Glenn Cannon, and one of the other producers, we had a lunch or a meeting in Studio City. She showed up. She couldn't have been more gracious. She was more beautiful. She was, it's almost like not by a stage, but she was backlit. It was like mid-afternoon, and like there was an aura around her. She said how much she liked the script, and depending on who we got as a leading man, because it truly was a duet, and the show would either rise or fall based on who the guy was. And so she reserved her commitment until she heard a name or at least could meet the actor. So the focus was then, so we interviewed, at one point I think we were up to just between the four different casting directors around the country and Canada, easily 1,500 actors had read for this part. I mean, New York, and auditions everywhere. I'd gone to New York to audition, and there was an actor there, what's his name? Ed Harris was doing a Sam Shepard play, Fool for Love. And his understudy was Bruce Willis. The night I'd gone to see, I thought, because I knew Ed Harris, and Ed wasn't right for it, but his agent, Jenny Delaney, who represented Bruce, because Bruce was almost like a back pocket client for William Morris. William Morris New York handled him, and here in LA, Jenny Delaney, who was William Morris' agent, handled him. But he wasn't on the night I went to see the play. So I came back to LA, and Jenny called and says, Reuben, when you were in New York, you missed Bruce. He finished the run at Fool for Love, and he's here on vacation. Will you meet with him? I said, sure, have him come see me at noon. I said, I have a casting session today at 3 o'clock at ABC with Glenn Cannon, and have him come in and see me. So he comes in, he's living in Malibu with somebody, he's tanned, and he's just Bruce. And I look at his resume, and the guy has an extensive resume of acting, and the rumors about him being a bartender, and no, he was a trained actor. You can't do Sam Shepard, understudying Ed Harris, and do Fool for Love unless you have skills. And I said to him, I said, I have two scripts for you. I want to give you two pilots I'm doing. One is Hardcastle McCormick, in which you would play, the role opposite Brian O'Keefe, I think was the lead actor, and the other is it's the role opposite possibly Sybil Shepherd. So I said, I know which one you want. He says, yeah. So I said, so meet me at 3:30 at ABC. Here are the scenes. Now at this point, I had read the role so many times, and I was off book. So he comes in, I think I had 10 actors that day were reading. And Bruce comes in, and this is I'll explain later what I call the Ray Charles theory, my Ray Charles theory about casting. So when you hear a role so many times, you develop almost a 10 ear. It becomes you almost anticipating what the response is going to be. But when you read it with an actor and you can anticipate, because it's coming from a different direction, a different energy, you pay attention. Like it's like hearing it for the first time. And that's what I call the Ray Charles theory, because when Ray Charles sings America the Beautiful, even though we know the song, it's like hearing it for the first time because it's coming through his genius. And that's what happened with the audition for Bruce Willis in Moonlighting. We had heard the role many times, but never. He came in, he literally propped himself up on the file cabinet and became the character. You got a preview of what it would be with him playing David. I immediately made a 2-week holding deal with Jenny on the spot. I said, Jenny, I want to put a 2-week hold on Bruce Willis while we prepare the network, for an audition. 2-week hold, which meant that we were in first position for any pilot that he might be, because it's pilot season. And I'm sure had he gotten, going out to read for something else, he would have gotten it. So we had first position on his services. I believe his salary was like $12,000 per episode for the first season, with a 10% bump thereafter. So we schedule a time, we take him to the network. I called the casting director. I says, I've got the guy. I found him. I found David. So we take him in, and the head of the casting was John Crosby. The head, I'm trying to remember the name of the president of the studio. I think it might have been Brandon Stoddard was the president of the studio, was the head of ABC. Mm-hmm. And he said to me, Reuben, apparently you don't know what a leading man is. This role requires a leading man. And he literally said to me, a leading man, this is interesting, he said, a leading man is Stephen Collins. Bruce Willis is a character actor. If you can't find this role, I'm going to ask you to step aside, let me hire a casting director that can. So I was literally replaced. I was fired, and they called in Lynn Stallmaster to do the search. Now I knew Lynn, and I had been in that position where people would call me in to take over casting. I said, Lynn, take their money. I've seen the world. There's nobody out there. Bruce Willis is the guy. I'll provide you all my research materials, so you don't have to do much, but if you want to, turn over the same rocks that I've turned over, take their money. So he did, and so the clock is ticking because you only have a week with Bruce. You got 2 weeks. So during that 2-week period, Sybil agreed to do a video audition, to do a video presentation, almost like a little presentation with him. That would be directed, it would be staged, they would be dressed. And Bob Butler, who directed, shot the scene. And the energy was magic, the scene was magic. And we took that scene back to the network. And the president, once again, had so little confidence in what everybody else was responding to, he ordered a test of that test. Did a test at the Audience Research, ARG, brought in a group of people, and the question was one question: Will you watch this man? Would you watch this actor on TV every week? And the scene and the answer was a resounding yes. And we hired Bruce. I was rehired. I got a bonus, because it got picked up as a series. And I did the series for like 3 seasons. And my Karen Weiss, who was the on-site casting director, took it over. But it was just a wonderful experience. And Bruce has told this story as well. I mean, and I think Oprah interviewed him, and because there are many myths about how he came to be cast. But then I saw him the night of the Color Purple premiere in New York. He was there, and he stopped for a moment and made an announcement. So please meet the man who's responsible for casting me. And so it was fun, but it was a lesson in taste. That same executive at the network also turned down the Cosby Show, so there's no accounting for taste.